Hello, everyone. Today we are doing lesson 21. I am determined to see things differently, and chapter 2, the separation and the atonement, section 8, the meaning of the last judgment. One of the ways in which you can correct the magic miracle confusion is to remember that you did not create yourself. You are apt to forget this when you become egocentric, and this puts you in a position where a belief in magic is virtually inevitable. Your will to create was given you by your Creator, who was expressing the same will in His creation. Since creative ability rests in the mind, everything you create is necessarily a matter of will. It also follows that whatever you alone make is real in your own sight, though not in the mind of God. This basic distinction leads directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. Interjecting real quick, I want to bring to your attention here, folks, where it's stating here that it also follows that whatever you alone make is real in your own sight, though not in the mind of God. We create everything that we perceive around us. And what we perceive is not what God perceives. God perceives innocence. He perceives love. He perceives how truly perfect we are. He does not see anything wrong with us. He does not see any negative aspects to us. And we've been taught all of our lives that God's going to judge us. It's not true. The only thing that God would judge us as is being pure, innocent, loving. Perfect. Nothing more, nothing less.
Holy and whole.
Yeah, holy and whole. Continuing. The last judgment is one of the most threatening ideas in your thinking. This is because you do not understand it. Judgment is not an attribute of God. It was brought into being only after the separation, when it became one of the many learning devices to be built into the overall plan. Just as the separation occurred over millions of years, the last judgment will extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps an even longer one. Its length can, however, be greatly shortened by miracles, the device for shortening but not abolishing time. If a sufficient number become truly miracle-minded, this shortening process can be virtually immeasurable. It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. Interjecting. So what that paragraph is telling us is that we have been taught to believe that God's going to judge us and we're going to be sent to purgatory and all kinds of other BS.
Or hell.
Or hell. And it's a lie. Because in truth, every thought, every belief we hold on to that is creating our world around us as we project it out is creating our own living hell here and now. Think about that for a moment. How much pain and suffering are you going through because of something you're believing to be true? Because of something that you have placed a judgment and opinion on or a definition on and meaning to. These are the things that he's having us look at. And he's telling us that until we learn to let go of those fears, those beliefs, and those judgments, that we will not be able to extend that love, that healing to our brothers. We have to let go of those things first ourselves, and it has to come from within. That's the only way we're going to bring peace to our brothers, is if we can bring peace to ourselves first. Continuing. The Last Judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers with my help. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, however much you may think that punishment is deserved. Interjecting, once again, it's stating here unequivocally that God does not judge us. That last judgment is us learning to let go of our beliefs and accept the healing that is being offered to us by Holy Spirit. And our beliefs are telling us that we deserve to be punished constantly. Just like when my grandmother did those things to me, I believed that I had done something wrong and I deserved to be treated that way. I deserve those types of punishments. And in looking at those and recognizing the fallacy of that belief, I was able to let it go in lieu of the truth that I am perfect, I am whole, holy, innocent. I am a loving being, a son of God, a child of God. And no one can take that from me. Just because they want to judge me differently doesn't make it true. Continuing on. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right mindedness. And the aim of the Last Judgment is to restore right mindedness to you. The Last Judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Until this distinction is made, however, the vacillations between free and imprisoned will cannot but continue. And that is exactly as I was saying. It's when we stop pointing fingers at other people and making them responsible for our choices and our decisions of what we're going to believe in and hold forth as being true. And we accept responsibility for what it is we are doing to ourselves. Because no one else is responsible for anything that's happening to us. We do all of it to ourselves with our beliefs and our judgments about what is or is not, what is true or what is not. And that's when we learn to hand everything over to Holy Spirit. That is why we're learning to do this at this time. So often, many of us have gone into these spirals of pain and suffering in the beliefs of the things that we've been through. And it is that kind of stuff that is causing us to have these diseases that are forming in our bodies, these beliefs and these judgments. And until we can learn to distinguish between Holy Spirit's thoughts and our egoic thought system, we will continue down these same paths over and over and over, repeating the same thing over with different levels of intensity. And I have found for myself that the more I neglect to willingly look at these things, the more painful, the more destructive these experiences become to my equilibrium and my peace of mind. Continuing on. The first step toward freedom involves the sorting out of the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Everyone will ultimately look upon his own creations and choose to preserve only what is good, just as God himself looked upon what he had created and knew that it was good. At this point, the mind can begin to look with love on its own creations because of their worthiness. At the same time, the mind will inevitably disown its miscreations, which, without belief, will no longer exist. Interjecting. When I let go of my beliefs in the judgments that were handed to me, my miscreations were the diseases I incurred in my body. And when I disowned those beliefs and let them go in lieu of the truth, those diseases disappeared. They vanished. They no longer exist within me. Once I have been healed, it is not possible for me to take on those diseases again in that same way. It simply is not possible. As I said yesterday, once you make that active choice to choose again and choose differently, and your eyes are opened to the truth, there's no going back. You try going back, and all you will get is pain and suffering instantaneously. It's as simple as that. You cannot go back once you see the truth. You don't want to go back at that point because you recognize that pain and suffering and you recognize you don't want to continue with it. Continuing on. The term last judgment is frightening not only because it has been projected onto God, but also because of the association of last with death. This is an outstanding example of upside down perception. If the meaning of the Last Judgment is objectively examined, it is quite apparent that it is really the doorway to life. No one who lives in fear is really alive. Your own last judgment cannot be directed toward yourself because you are not your own creation. You can, however, apply it meaningfully and at any time to everything you have made and retain in your memory only what is creative and good. This is what your right mindedness cannot but dictate. The purpose of time is solely to give you time to achieve this judgment. It is your own perfect judgment of your own perfect creations. When everything you retain is lovable, there is no reason for fear to remain with you. This is your part in the atonement. So, when I'm looking at this, what it's saying to me, and what a lot of this stuff has been saying to me, is that it's my beliefs in the things that I've been taught to believe in and put forth as being true that has created everything around me and within me. And this first sentence where it says the term last judgment is frightening not only because it has been projected onto God, so this is a man made creation judgment. God didn't create it, man created it. And we projected it out onto God in the belief that God is going to judge us because we have judged God as lacking in some way, as being this angry, vengeful being that's going to come in and destroy us because we're not going to be good, loving little children. That's what we get taught in a lot of these religions, for lack of a better term. These faith building systems out there that if you don't believe as we do, you're going to go to hell. You're going to be living in purgatory for eternity. And that simply isn't true. And that sentence continues on, but also because of the association of last with death. And this is something that I have really looked at. And I've come to understand for myself that there is no death and that I don't need to die. I don't need to lay this body aside. I don't need to age. It's a choice. The more garbage I believe in to be true, that puts forth and validates those beliefs in death, in aging, in illness, and disease, the more likely I will create those within my reality. And as I've been doing this course, I've come to an understanding within my own self that there is absolutely no death. There's no reason for me to set my body aside at any time if I don't want to. There's no reason for me to grow old. Hell, if I want, I can grow younger. There are a myriad of possibilities. If I believe it in my mind and heart to be true, I will create it. That is what this course is telling us. Anything we put forth as being true, we will create it. What we put our beliefs into, we create. And that is something that we really, really are being asked to look at. What is it we're believing to be true? What are we putting our faith and trust into?
Hence the phrase, believing is seeing.
Yes. Believing is seeing. Or, excuse me, seeing is believing.
No, that's the way the world looks upon everything. But ACIM introduced the idea that believing is seeing.
Yeah,
what we believe is what we see.
Exactly. And so they are flipping that saying around into its true context. Because we grow up saying, seeing is believing. If I see it, I'll believe it. And we wonder why we don't see the things that we want to believe in. And then we see the things that we don't want to believe in.
It's just like if when I believed for a while that we didn't go to the moon, and I could go on the internet and I could find plenty of evidence to support that we didn't go to the moon. Plenty of websites. Or more recently,
Flat Earth.
Flat Earth. You know, I'm constantly getting inundated with this flat Earth, and you know, to me, right here, it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel right. Everything in our universe is round. Why would the Earth be flat? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Exactly. You know, and in that same context, you will find a lot of folks putting out these videos that there are these alien beings that are interacting with us on all these different levels. And as I have heard and listened to some of these recordings, I keep hearing them telling us how these people are going to make it and these people won't. And you'll be able to do this and this, but you're not going to be able to do that. Or some people can do this and some people can do that, but not everybody can do this and that. And when I hear that, I'm hearing limitations being placed. I'm hearing judgments being placed of someone being better or worse than somebody else. And that tells me that all of that is a lie.
How many religions believe that they're the only ones going to heaven and everyone else is going to hell? It's the same thing.
Exactly. So in that respect, it is telling me that all of it is a lie. Because I tell you what, this course tells me that everything that I can do, everyone else can do. Everything that Jesus did, I can do.
Maybe not now.
Maybe not right in this moment, but I will eventually be able to do so and more. And that it's not going to be set to this person or that person being able to do it. All of us are giving God's creative abilities. All of us are given His gifts.
I look forward to being able to turn water into wine.
Me too.
Yeah.
So it's things of that nature that I am looking at and holding forth as being true. My Father has told me that I will not be, what is the word, Alex, when they say that, you know, someone's keeping something from you? There's a word for it.
Withheld?
Thank you. My Father will not withhold anything from me, ever, for any reason. The only one withholding it from me is myself, with my beliefs of what is and what isn't. And when I hear a lot of these folks putting this stuff out there, like that. And they're chasing after this dream, this belief that this is real, this is true. I can't help but hear the lies. Being empathic as I am, I hear the absolute truth of what they're stating in their beliefs. And I hear the lies in it, that they are believing in lies. And that's where I'm drawing a line within myself going, that doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't resonate. Why? And I ask. And then I get brought back to this course telling me every single time that my Father's gifts are given unto me freely, without exception, without anything being withheld. Everything is for my benefit. Nothing ever goes wrong. It is all for my good. So if I'm hearing something other than that out there, that tells me it's a lie. All right, that was Chapter 2's The Separation and Atonement, Section 8, The Meaning of the Last Judgment. Moving on to Lesson 21, I am determined to see things differently. The idea for today is obviously a continuation and extension of the preceding one. This time, however, specific mind-searching periods are necessary, in addition to applying the idea to particular situations as they may arise. 5 practice periods are urged, allowing a full minute for each. Right here, guys, it's telling you, do not pass over anything. Do not pick and choose. Bring all of it to Him. Search your mind very specifically for anything and everything that it calls for you to look for. Even the smallest, tiniest little thing to the most gigantic, horrendous thing. Do not pick and choose. Bring all of it to Him. This is something that too many course teachers out there have been doing. They are picking and choosing. They are telling us, fake it till you make it. Deny it's happening. Don't look at it. Only look at this. Only look at the good stuff. Only think good, happy thoughts. Deny anything bad. And then they wonder why they've been doing this for 20, 30, 35 years and not getting anywhere with it. Why they are stuck in that same damn rut, day in, day out, with the diseases coming up in their bodies of cancer and everything else. And this is talking about that. When you don't bring it all to Him and you withhold anything from Him, you cannot heal. It is as simple as that. You will stay where you are at because you are withholding some portion of what you are believing to be true from Him. This is why I keep saying, look at everything without exception. Do not pick and choose. You do yourself a disservice when you do that. Stop picking and choosing what you're going to look at, folks. Look at everything. No matter how inconsequential it may seem to you. Oh, but it has nothing to do with that. Bullshit. It has everything to do with that and every other little thing that's coming up attached to it. All of it is pertinent to it. Look at it all. Do not make any exceptions. Please do not make any exceptions. You cannot heal if you make exceptions. Continuing on. In the practice periods, begin by repeating the idea to yourself. Then close your eyes and search your mind carefully for situations, past, present, or anticipated, that arouse anger in you. The anger may take the form of any reaction ranging from mild irritation to rage. The degree of the emotion you experience does not matter. You will become increasingly aware that a slight twinge of annoyance is nothing but a veil drawn over intense fury. Just like I was saying, there is no difference between them, whether it's the tiniest bit of irritation or the most intense, furious rage. That killing rage where you just feel like beating somebody or killing them because you're so angry. There's no difference between that irritation that he left this cup hanging off the edge again to, oh my God, he's off the edge, I want to kill him. There's no difference between the two. Recognize that fact. Quit making exceptions for them. They are one and the same. There's no difference. A slight irritation is no different than a killing rage. That is an absolute truth, folks. Take it in and consider that. You will find the truth in it. Continuing on. Try therefore not to let the little thoughts of anger escape you in the practice periods. Remember that you do not really recognize what arouses anger in you, and nothing that you believe in this connection means anything. You will probably be tempted to dwell more on some situations or persons than on others, on the fallacious grounds that they are more obvious. This is not so. It is merely an example of the belief that some forms of attack are more justified than others. Interjecting. Once again, it's believing that you know what is or is not, that you know what's best, that you have things right, based on your own judgments and opinions, based on your past experiences of things you've been taught to believe in. You are liable to sit there and pick and choose what to look at and what not to look at based off of those judgments. And he's telling you right here, don't do it. Even the tiniest thought needs to be looked at. Continuing. As you search your mind for all the forms in which attack thoughts present themselves, hold each one in mind while you tell yourself, I am determined to see blank, name a person, differently. I am determined to see blank, specify the situation, differently. Try to be as specific as possible. You may, for example, focus your anger on a particular attribute of a particular person, believing that the anger is limited to this aspect. If your perception is suffering from this form of distortion, say, I am determined to see blank, specify the attribute, in blank, name a person, differently. This is lesson 21. I am determined to see things differently. Be willing to look at everything, folks. That's what it's telling us. Look at everything and withhold nothing. Lesson 21, I am determined to see things differently. And Chapter 2, the separation and the atonement. Section 8, the meaning of the last judgment. My name is Sabrina Reyenga with
Alex Reyenga.
Thank you for
and Thor.
Yeah, we got Thor over here too.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.